The police officer in the Ruby Franke case speaks out, the one we saw in that body cam footage of Kevin getting his things and him wanting to press charges on Shari, and apparently and allegedly, this is also the cop that removed the children and got them away from Shari and into CPS custody. She has a lot of information she's spilling, and I want to get that to you guys. And guys, make sure and click the plus sign. I'm going to have more in this you don't want to miss. Sound off in the comments and tell me what you think. And first of all, big shout out to Renee. Go follow her. I found this clip from her. She's great. She's been on this. She has all kinds of awesome content. Go follow her, link in the description. But this comes from Julie Louise 1975, who's a TikTok creator who follows the Ruby Franke case. Well, apparently she did a live stream with this police officer, and they're talking about what happened and their involvement when it comes to Kevin and Kevin getting his things and Shari taking stuff. I want you to take a listen because this is fascinating, and then we'll discuss.
Happened just a couple days after we served the warrant on the Franke home here in Springville, and Kevin called. He said that he just went back to his home. He hadn't been there in over a year, and that the door was completely demolished, broken into, and that he was missing some items, namely some electronic journals that he was worried about, and that he believed that the person who was responsible for that was his oldest daughter, Shari Franke, and that he wanted her charged with burglary. Because he thinks that she's the one that broke into the home and stole those things. And he thought that based on some statements she said in court that day. I don't know what those were. But he thought she was responsible for it, and he wanted her charged. And that just turned into a whole gray area. I had to call my detective sergeant to ask him, like, what are we going to do about this situation? I very clearly told him she's not responsible for the door. We broke that door when we served the warrant. And that she was allowed in the home to collect things for the children that she was going to have in her custody, which was the two middle children. I will make it clear, she was told not to take anything that wasn't for the children, whatever. But officers didn't follow her around the house to make sure, she was only taking what she should. And even if they were, they wouldn't know really what was for the kids and what wasn't. So she did end up taking some stuff that arguably probably wasn't for the children.
The passports, you never know. I mean, I had my dad's passport before.
Yeah, she took all the kids' passports, and
she explains that she had to call Shari to tell her to return the items.
So I ended up calling Shari and telling her, I hadn't met her, I hadn't talked to her yet. I knew it was a sensitive situation, so I just called her and was like, hey, really sorry I have to call you about this, but your dad is saying that you took some things from the house that you weren't supposed to, that, weren't the kids. Do you know anything about that? And she was very honest and very proud, that she was like, yeah, I did, I have them. I have them. And I was like, okay, it would be better if you returned them.
Just in case.
Yeah, just, in case he wants to really push it one day and, whatever. If you really don't need them or want them. Because she offered. She was like, I'm done with them. I don't need them anymore. I can return them. I don't care. And I was like, okay, yeah.
She, bruised everything, put it all here so that she had all that, evidence moving forward, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. And so, she was willing to return them. So she came to the station. I got them from her. She returned Kevin and Ruby's passports along with Chad's. I guess she had the others because she had custody of at least the two middle ones. So
she explains that she then called Kevin to let him know. But listen to what she says his main concern was.
I called Kevin and I was like, hey, great news. I have your stuff. You can come down and get it whenever you want. And he was more concerned with whether or not I was going to be charging Shari with anything. And I was like, well, you seemed really worried about these items, and I've gotten these items back for you. So that, that's what you cared about. And I'm telling you I fixed that problem. But he was just so confused at why he was like, well, she wasn't allowed here and she wasn't this. And so I had to explain to him, the law is very gray. A lot of the times it's cut, black and white, cut and dry, but sometimes it's gray. And, she was a family member. She had previously been allowed in the home, with access to anything. He hadn't been in the home in over a year. So, we definitely weren't able to confirm that he was even allowed to make this police report on behalf of that residence. Because he has another residence here in Springville where he's been staying. So we couldn't even really say whether or not he was allowed to file that report. So he ended up agreeing to come down to get all his things. And you guys saw from there, he was just mostly concerned with, he didn't even look at the items to see if everything was there or, what had been taken or whatnot.
Now, the first thing I want to say is all of this is allegedly, because I like to make sure and point out in my videos when something is speculation versus something is fact. This is being presented as fact. However, I do want to put out the information. We don't yet have any verified information that this woman was the police officer that was there. I'm not saying she was. I'm not saying she wasn't. I'd like to believe her, but we don't know. Here's what I do know. I do know that it looks like her photo is on the social media of this police department, and I believe also the police website, a photo of somebody with the same name that looks like her. So I will say this. Looks like a high probability. We just don't know for a fact. And I just want to make sure to distinguish between fact and speculation. But from what this person says, it's really interesting. First of all, Shari took items that Shari knew she wasn't supposed to take, but did give them back. Now, I do find this interesting because she does say, when it comes to this situation, Kevin, no matter what, wasn't even interested in the items, just wanted to go after Shari. And remember Randy Kester, acting like that's Kevin's lawyer. He was acting like he didn't know anything that was going on about this. We didn't know about the door. Maybe items were taken. Remember how weird he was? They knew everything, and apparently this woman was the one to go between and try to, if not make peace, at least make things right with everybody. So this is very interesting. Kevin was most concerned with wanting to hurt Shari, not actually get his items back, as he said. So in my opinion, his concern was more punishment, was more abuse. That's where Kevin's mind was. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Tell me your thoughts. Sound off in the comments and click the plus sign. I've got more coming.